All right, it's time again for another round of experimental typography. So this episode is actually going to be a little bit different than what we normally do because this episode is going to be done completely digitally. So I don't think the results that we're going to have today are quite as extreme as we've seen in the past, but I do think it's still going to be fun. So what are we doing today? So the premise for this episode is chance. So I have a table here in Photoshop that has 2 different sizes and 2 different weights and then 1 extra font. So I'm going to go to a random number generator. I'm going to generate a number 1 through 5, and then whatever that number comes out to be, that's what we'll pick. So for instance, if the first number we get is 2, then we're going to go right here, right to this number 2. Got it? And for the next one, we're going to roll it again, and then maybe we'll get a 5. So that means we're going to use this one. So essentially, we're going to take a bunch of different weights, fonts, and sizes, put them all together to create the word chance. I'll then have to take the collection of letters and then make a design out of it. And I've decided to give myself 1 extra rule on top of that. I can't change the font size and I can't change the weight. The only way that I can change the font size is if it's proportional. So for example, if I want to scale up 1 letter, I have to scale them all up equally. So I can't say, oh, I want to change the size of this 1 letter. Nope, I've got to do it all together or I don't do any of them. So I'm going to do this 3 different times, so that way I have 3 different sets of letters. Maybe I'll use all 3 sets, maybe I'll only use 1. Really what's going to dictate that is whatever I come up with while I'm designing. So with all that out of the way, let's get to the experiment. All right, so I've got a number generator on my phone right here, so we're just going to click generate, and then whatever number it gives us is going to coincide with the row that we're going to be using. So let's see what happens. So our first number is 1. Let's mark that. Nice, I actually think that's perfect. We're gonna have a nice bold number for the very first thing that we're gonna see, or at least the start of the word. Our next number is 2. All right, let's see what we got for number 3. 3, I hope this isn't just going in order. 2, okay, so it's not just going in order. We just got kind of weirdly lucky there. Number 4, and for the very last one, number 1. All right, so our very first set of letters are these ones right here. So let's see what happens with the next set. Alrighty, so for our second set, let's see what the first one is. We got a 3. 5, okay. 3, 2, number 1, 5. That'll be interesting. Usually if I mix fonts, I'll only choose 1 letter out of the word to mix up. So this will be kind of interesting to have 2 to kind of work with. I think this one's gonna be a tough one, but we'll see what happens. So moving on to the very last one. Let's see what happens. All right, and our first one is number 2. 3, 1, 3, 1, 5. So anyways, those are the 3 sets that we've got to work with. So I guess the only thing left to do is to start designing and see what happens. Hi, I made the mistake of not hitting record on my screen capture. I really haven't done much, but just to catch you up, let me show you what I have. So the very first thing that I thought about playing around with was some kind of layout like this, where the letters are just kind of floating and kind of jumbled, mixed together. I thought I might be able to do something cool with that. I don't know if I love this layout, but at least it kind of has the idea and it's there. Now the other thing that I wanted to do and try out was to, so I turned this shape into a smart object, so that way I can take the letters, put them into the shape or a smart object, so that way it has like kind of a border, and I can work inside of that smart object and move them around to the edges and stuff. And then whenever it updates in this part of the project, it'll be, like cut off and it'll kind of like frame everything up nicely. Sometimes it has some cool results and you can do some cool stuff with it. So I'm just trying it and seeing what happens. So we'll just continue on. So yeah, something like this, I feel like we might be able to do something with, because I can either blow it up all at the bottom and then maybe put something at the top, or I can overlay something. I don't know. I just like the way it kind of just gets cut off and it has a box rather than having like a weird organic shape that's harder to work with. I still don't know if it'll actually work, but it's something. We're getting somewhere. Or, because we could do a grid and put it down here and then build the grid out like that. And this would just kind of be down here. Or maybe we make this a little bit more prevalent. Kind of like this. It's like we could definitely do something like this, where we have the typography up top and then something down below. Maybe that's one image, maybe that's multiple, I don't know. But that's definitely an option, a way to go. Maybe we even kind of do something like this, where they intersect a little bit. Although I guess if I did that, I might want to bring back the bottom of the letters. Actually, that makes me think that maybe what we do is we switch these because I feel like this is gonna have a better top or a better like organic looking shape. Let's do that. Yeah, maybe something like this. Although I don't know, I might actually like it better. Actually, now that I think about it, maybe we don't even need this. We go with this, and then maybe we put some type or some stuff like kind of around this kind of curved shape. And then we can just put some like little tags and stuff up at the top. Options. I'm definitely liking this. My original idea that I was thinking about doing, which I talked about earlier, but I can't show it now because I didn't have the screen recording to go with it. But what I wanted to do was I thought I might be able to find some like dice sitting on a table, and I could just take those and pose them over this. And this actually might work perfectly for that, because I can have the dice like up here, or maybe like, you know, one here, one up here or something. Just kind of bringing the entire thing together, but also letting everything kind of also be kind of on their own thing. That might work with this idea, or at least the way that I'm thinking about it. I think what I'm gonna do is I wanna move to another project, another set of the letters that we have, because I think this is at least a good starting point. I can always come back to it and then continue with the idea that I have, but I also wanna try to experiment with the other sets that we have. So let's move on to number 2. All right, so these are the letters that we have for the second set. I think this one's gonna be a little bit trickier, especially with this. This just throws me for a loop. I really don't know what to do with it. Although, let's see what it looks like if I just put everything in a line, just kind of how it is, but make it actually look good. So I don't know if it's good or bad, but it does have this kind of big, small pattern. Could be useful, could be even worse. I'm not really sure. This is an interesting layout. I don't think it really reads chance, but it's something. Yeah, this one's a tricky one. I really don't know how I want to lay everything out. The pattern really messes with me because it just looks like I'm trying to intentionally do a pattern where it's like, you know, big, small, and I don't like that. It doesn't feel random and chaotic like how I would want it to feel if this was a poster about chance. It feels way too calculated. I'm gonna try to come up with a couple more ideas, but I might have to move on to the other set because this is just kind of not getting me anywhere. Yeah, I'm gonna leave this one here for now. I'm gonna move on. Kind of messed up there a little bit. Technically, that one was the third one, and this is actually the second, but for all intents and purposes, that was the second one, and now this is the third, so no big deal. See, this one's a little bit more random, and it doesn't necessarily have a pattern, at least one that's not quite as obvious. There is kind of here, but at least it's like a different font, so it's like different enough to where it kind of contrasts enough. Doesn't feel like a pattern, so hopefully we can do something with that. Still a little bit scared about those 2 different font letters. That might be tricky. So let's see what happens. So this kind of works, but it does have half of it being, you know, small and then half of it being big. That doesn't really work, but I'm wondering if maybe we can kind of move stuff around so it's not quite as obvious like this. Yeah, like literally, I think this would be really cool if these were the same or similar size to this, but it's not, and I can't do anything about it, which is very frustrating. So kind of changing the H to an uppercase and kind of, you know, masking out the letters in this way is interesting. Like, I kind of like how that looks. It's different. I don't know if it's great, but at least it's interesting. It's the last 3 letters now that I'm not so sure about. Like, I want to do something different than what I did with the last idea. I'm not, like one of those things where it's like, well, what do you do? I'm still thinking this one is my favorite. I do like this. I just don't know what to do with it. I think I'm gonna pause on this, come back to this and see if I can get something done on it. And maybe I'll come to a place where I feel good about it, or maybe comes to a dead end and then I can switch back. I don't know. We'll find out. All right, this is an interesting point. I still don't know if I love it. It's okay, it's something at least. I just don't know what else to do with it. I don't even know if this is really what I should be doing. Or maybe it's time to move on or kind of move to that other layout and see if maybe there's something else I can do. Because I'm kind of, at this point, I'm kind of stuck. So I think I'm gonna go back to the other layout that I was working on. I'll try something there. If I don't come to a place that I'm happy with, I'm gonna hit pause on this until maybe I can get some other ideas in my head or find some other resources to use, because I'm a little bit lost at this point. So well, let's move on to that other one and we'll see what happens. So Photoshop is just being really weird. I can't change my tool. Like even if I change it, it doesn't actually do anything. So like it says brush, but I can't do anything. I don't know what's going on. I've been doing this for about an hour. I've kind of had it up to here with the design and everything. So I'm just gonna call it quits for now. I'll come back to it later and hopefully I'll have a better idea of what to do. So I will see you whenever that happens. Alrighty, so it's been a couple of days since I've worked on this project. I've thought through some of the ideas that I've had and I've come up with some different ones. And I feel like I'm a little bit more prepared than I was last time. So I think I'm ready to tie up this project. So let's jump in. All right, so I have two ideas for this layout here. So the easiest one, and which I hope will be the best one, is gonna be the simplest one, which is just to put an image behind it and then turn the text from black into white. I tested this really quickly on some other photographs and it actually looked pretty good. So I'm hoping we can do that and then maybe just add a couple smaller details and then just call it there. That would be the best scenario because then it would be the easiest one, but we'll see how everything turns out. But since that's the first idea that I have, let's start there. So I went ahead and I downloaded a couple of different images for us to use. So it's really just going to be kind of testing some things out and figuring out which one we like best. So I thought would be cool is if we just kind of had a big photograph like this, and if we invert it like that, see how it kind of, I don't know, something about it to me makes it seem cool. Not exactly this image in particular, at least not the way that I thought about it, at least not the way that I thought it would, but you kind of get the idea. And then maybe, you know, we could put some text here or up here or something just to kind of fill out the space, but something like that. Let's try out a different image. So like this is better. I don't know if it's the right image, but I feel like it's closer. Something like this might be a little bit too dark, but that's okay. Maybe this one would be even better. Have this line kind of go through the line of the text. It might be a bit too big, but that was the idea I had. Don't love that though. This one might work, but I'm gonna assume not, just because it's kind of more landscape than horizontal. Yeah, so it cuts off so much. So I don't think it's really gonna show well. But this was another interesting thought I had. Like I like this. I think it's really cool. I just feel like it needs, or maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Maybe this will work. I mean, I'll definitely have to kind of distress this word so it doesn't like pop out nearly as much. But this is okay. Have some room, add something up here, kind of balance out the poster a little bit. Give it some structure, even though this isn't very structured. Maybe add some just kind of grunge textures around, just to kind of bring everything together, make it feel kind of rough and tough. Let me see if there's any other ones. Actually, let me see if this works on this, how this looks. I think there's too many colors, so it's just, and it's kind of got a very like bright high key light. I don't think it's gonna work quite as well as I would have hoped, but that's okay. I'm still feeling like this might be the best option though. Yeah, now that there's some kind of texture, kind of makes things a little bit more grungy, adds a little bit more contrast. Maybe what we do to kind of help blend them together a little bit, we erase the H, and then we kind of add it back behind the dice. I just don't know if this really reads that well as a hand. I just don't feel like it reads that well. Maybe we save this just in case. Let's see if we can do something else that's kind of similar. Ooh, what if we... So this is an idea. That could maybe work. Kind of upside down. I kind of like that. It's like you're being dealt a hand. This is okay, but I feel like it doesn't fill up enough of this space up here, so it feels kind of empty. Honestly, I kind of like just this. I mean, like one of my other ideas was just to take this and then just kind of add some textures and layers on top of it and just call it there, like keep it really, really simple. So I'm thinking about maybe just stealing these dice. Because maybe now it'll work. Yeah, see, like, I don't know. There's something cool about this. It's really simple, but that doesn't mean it's bad. Okay, I think I can work with the dice like this. So let's put, this actually might look really cool if we put it on just. It's okay. Yeah, like even something like this could work. And what I might do is put like this one behind. There's some more depth maybe. Or I can move this one over top just there, so there's some kind of depth and it's not just flat. Yeah, so if we bring that down, this one right here, we bring it down, cover up just the edge, it'll bring a little bit more depth to it. There. Now it all matches. Okay. I like this. This is pretty good. So far, I think this is one of our best ones. I think we can definitely add some more textures and stuff to the background, so it's not quite as like just blank. So you know what? I'm just gonna leave it here. And then in a couple of seconds, you'll see the final results. It's probably a better option than watching me struggle in Photoshop for the next couple hours. So here's where we finally ended up. So where we ended up isn't completely different from where we last left off, but I feel like it's definitely more cohesive now with all the grunge textures and stuff kind of going on, and it all just kind of ties it all together really nicely. I think what I really like about this poster is that it's mostly just black and white, and the only thing that has any color in it is the dice, so it really draws the eye in a really cool way. Plus it just has a lot of contrast, which is something that I really enjoy. So what color is in it really stands out and really packs a punch. While I still have a bunch of other ideas that I would have liked to have tried out at some point, I do really like where this has ended up. It was a little bit of a struggle to make, but I think in the end it was worth it. But there was another idea that I had kind of worked on during the break period between the two recordings, and I felt like it was mostly done, just not quite, and so I actually did two designs. So here's what the second design looks like. I don't think it's quite as good as the other design, but I do like it. I feel like visually it doesn't have as much of an impact because there's not as much contrast, but I do think it paints a different scene compared to the other one. Overall, I think it's a pretty good design. But I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts are. Which poster do you prefer? Let me know in the comments. But if you found this video helpful and entertaining in any way, I'd appreciate it if you would check out the rest of my channel and then consider subscribing. I hope to see you in the next video.